The melody drifting through the autumn air was imperfect, punctuated by the occasional wrong note. But it carried more soul than any polished performance Helena Greene had heard in years. And she stopped dead in her tracks outside the small neighborhood park, her $1,000 heels sinking slightly into the grass as she turned toward the source. A man sat on a weathered bench beneath a sprawling oak tree, his fingers dancing across the strings of an acoustic guitar that had clearly seen better days. The instrument's body was scratched and worn, held together by what looked like duct tape along one seam, but the music that emerged was unexpectedly beautiful. Beside him, a little girl with wild curls bouncing around her shoulders swayed to the rhythm, her eyes closed, a smile of pure contentment on her face. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old, wearing a slightly faded purple dress that was clean but clearly hand-me-down quality. Helena found herself drawn closer, her afternoon meeting forgotten. She had been walking to clear her head after another grueling negotiation session at her company's headquarters downtown. As the founder and CEO of Greene Technologies, a software empire worth billions, she spent most of her days surrounded by calculated words and strategic moves. This moment felt different, raw, real. The man's voice joined the guitar, singing a folk song about sunshine and tomorrow. His voice cracked slightly on the high notes, but he sang with such earnest emotion that Helena felt an unexpected tightness in her chest. He was probably in his late 20s, she guessed, with dark hair that needed a trim and a face that might have been handsome under different circumstances. Right now, he just looked tired, with shadows under his eyes that spoke of long nights and hard work. When the song ended, the little girl clapped enthusiastically. "Again, Daddy. Do the one about the mockingbird," the man laughed, a warm sound that seemed to brighten the entire park. "Sweetheart, we've played that one 3 times already. Don't you want to get some dinner?" "But I love when you play for me," the girl protested, her lower lip jutting out in an exaggerated pout that was more theatrical than genuinely upset. "I know, Lilybug, and I love playing for you. But my fingers are getting tired, and I promised you we'd get pizza tonight, remember?" The girl's face lit up. "Pizza with extra cheese? If that's what you want, then extra cheese it is." The man carefully placed the guitar in a battered case beside the bench. As he did, Helena noticed the case's interior was lined with what looked like an old towel, clearly a makeshift protection for the instrument. Helena felt her feet carrying her forward before her brain could fully process the decision. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice coming out softer than she'd intended. The man looked up, his expression immediately shifting to polite wariness. He instinctively moved closer to his daughter, a subtle protective gesture that Helena noted with approval. His eyes were brown, she noticed, a warm shade that contrasted with the guardedness in his posture. "I'm sorry to interrupt," Helena continued, stopping a respectful distance away. "I was walking by and heard you playing. You're very talented." The man's shoulders relaxed slightly, but he still maintained that protective proximity to his daughter. "Thank you. Just entertaining my girl here." He placed a hand on the child's shoulder, and Helena saw her lean into his touch with complete trust. "I'm Helena," she offered, deliberately leaving off her last name. Something told her that her usual introduction, the one that came with the weight of her corporate reputation, wouldn't serve her well here. "Wade," the man replied after a moment's hesitation. "Wade Calloway." "This is my daughter, Lily." "Nice to meet you," Lily said with surprising politeness for a 7-year-old, clearly well taught in manners despite whatever financial struggles her worn clothing suggested. Helena crouched down slightly to be at the girl's eye level, a trick she'd learned from her own childhood when adults had towered over her. "It's very nice to meet you too, Lily. Your dad plays beautifully for you." Lily nodded enthusiastically. "He plays for me every Saturday. It's our special day together." Helena glanced back at Wade, who was watching the interaction with a mixture of pride and something else, maybe embarrassment at their obvious circumstances. His jeans were clean but faded, His flannel shirt rolled up at the sleeves, revealing forearms that spoke of physical labor. His hands, she noticed, were calloused and rough, except for the fingertips of his left hand, which showed the telltale hardened skin of someone who played guitar regularly. "Do you perform professionally?" Helena asked, straightening up to address Wade directly. He laughed, but there was no bitterness in it, just honest self-awareness. "No, nothing like that. I work construction during the week. The guitar is just something I picked up years ago. Lily here is my only audience, and that's just fine with me." "Daddy's the best guitar player in the whole world," Lily declared with the absolute certainty that only a child could possess. Wade's face softened as he looked at his daughter, and Helena felt something stir in her chest, an emotion she couldn't quite name. It had been a long time since anyone had looked at her with such uncomplicated love. "Well, Lily's a bit biased," Wade said, ruffling his daughter's hair. "But I appreciate the vote of confidence, Bug." Helena made a decision, one that felt both impulsive and somehow inevitable. "Wade, I know this might sound unusual, but I'd like to talk to you about an opportunity. Do you have a few minutes?" Wade's expression became guarded again. "What kind of opportunity?" "A legitimate one, I promise," Helena said, pulling out her business card from her purse. It was simple, elegant, with just her name and contact information. No corporate logo, no title, just the essentials. She handed it to Wade. "I run a technology company, and we're looking for someone to manage a new community outreach program we're developing. It would involve music education for underprivileged children in the area." Wade studied the card, his brow furrowed. "I appreciate the thought, but I'm not exactly qualified for that kind of work. Like I said, I'm in construction. I fix things, build things. I don't have any teaching credentials or anything like that." "Sometimes the best teachers are the ones who genuinely love what they do," Helena countered. "I saw how you were with Lily. That's not something you can teach in a classroom or put on a resume. That's authentic." Lily tugged on her father's sleeve. "Daddy, what's she talking about?" Wade bent down to his daughter's level. "The nice lady is offering me a possible job, sweetheart. But we need to think about it carefully, okay?" Helena watched the interaction, noting how Wade included his daughter in the conversation rather than dismissing her concerns. It spoke volumes about the kind of father he was. "Look," Helena said, "I don't expect an answer right now. But would you be willing to meet with me sometime next week? We could discuss the details, and you could make an informed decision. Bring Lily if you'd like. We could meet somewhere public, casual, wherever you'd feel comfortable." Wade stood up slowly, still holding the business card. She could see the wheels turning in his head, weighing the opportunity against his natural skepticism. "Why me?" he finally asked. "You don't know anything about me. For all you know, I could be completely unreliable." "True," Helena admitted, "but I've learned to trust my instincts about people. And my instincts tell me you're someone who shows up, who follows through, especially for the people who matter to you." She glanced at Lily. "Your daughter clearly adores you, and kids are pretty good judges of character." Wade was quiet for a long moment, and Helena found herself holding her breath, waiting for his response. She wasn't sure why this mattered so much to her. She made business decisions every day that affected thousands of people and billions of dollars. This was just one potential hire for a program that hadn't even fully launched yet. But something about this man and his daughter had captured her attention in a way she couldn't quite explain. "Okay," Wade finally said. "I'll meet with you, but I'm not making any promises. I've got responsibilities, and Lily comes first, always." "I would expect nothing less," Helena replied, feeling an unexpected warmth at his protective declaration. "How about Tuesday afternoon? There's a cafe downtown Morgan's Place near 5th Street. Do you know it?" Wade nodded. "I've driven past it, never been inside. It's casual, comfortable. We could meet around too if that works for you. I'd have to take off work early, but I can probably swing it." Wade glanced down at his daughter, who was watching the exchange with curious eyes. "If it's an issue, I can work around your schedule," Helena offered. "Evenings, weekends, whatever works best for you. No, Tuesday's fine, I'll make it work. Wade tucked the business card into his shirt pocket, then picked up his guitar case with one hand and took Lily's hand with the other. Come on, Bug, let's get that pizza. Extra cheese, Lily reminded him, bouncing slightly on her toes. I remember. Wade looked back at Helena. Thank you for the offer, I'll see you Tuesday. Helena watched them walk away, the man and his daughter, their hands clasped together. Wade matched his stride to Lily's shorter legs, never rushing her, patient and attentive. When they reached the edge of the park, Lily said something that made Wade laugh, throwing his head back with genuine amusement, and Helena felt that strange pull in her chest again. She stood there for several minutes after they disappeared from view, wondering what exactly she'd just set in motion. The community outreach program was real. Her company had been developing it for months. But if she was being honest with herself, that's not why she'd approached Wade Calloway. She'd approached him because something about the scene she'd witnessed had touched something deep inside her, something she'd thought she'd buried beneath years of corporate armor and calculated decisions. Helena Greene had built her empire from nothing. She'd started coding in her teenage years, developed her first successful app at 22, and by 30 had built Greene Technologies into a powerhouse that competed with the biggest names in Silicon Valley. She was 33 now, and somewhere along the way, she'd lost sight of what mattered beyond balance sheets and market shares. The music floating through that park had reminded her of something essential, something human that she'd been missing. Tuesday couldn't come fast enough. Wade Calloway stood outside Morgan's place on Tuesday afternoon, trying to calm the nervous energy thrumming through his body. He'd told his foreman he had a doctor's appointment, hating the small lie but not ready to explain what was really happening. The cafe looked intimidating with its polished windows and modern aesthetic, not the kind of place he usually frequented. His usual haunts were diners with vinyl booths and bottomless coffee, places where his work clothes wouldn't draw second glances. He'd changed after leaving the construction site, swapping his dusty work clothes for the best jeans he owned, and a button-down shirt he usually reserved for parent-teacher conferences. His reflection in the cafe window showed a man who was clearly out of his element, but trying hard not to show it. The door chimed when he entered, and the rich smell of coffee and fresh pastries hit him immediately. The interior was warm despite its modern design, with exposed brick walls and Edison bulbs hanging from the ceiling. Soft jazz played from hidden speakers, and the clientele looked exactly as he'd expected. Business professionals with laptops, students with textbooks, people who belonged in places like this. He spotted Helena immediately. She sat at a corner table, dressed more casually than she'd been in the park, in dark jeans and a soft gray sweater that somehow still looked expensive. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore minimal makeup, but she was striking in a way that made Wade's breath catch slightly. When she saw him, her face lit up with a genuine smile and some of his nervousness eased. "Wade," she said, standing to greet him. "I'm so glad you came. Can I get you something? Coffee. They have incredible pastries here. Coffee would be great," Wade said, settling into the chair across from her. "Black is fine." Helena signaled to a passing server who took their order with practiced efficiency. Once they were alone again, an awkward silence stretched between them, and Wade found himself studying the grain of the wooden table. "How's Lily?" Helena asked, breaking the silence. The question surprised him, and he looked up to find her watching him with what appeared to be genuine interest. "She's good. With her grandmother today, my mom watches her after school a couple days a week." "That's wonderful that you have family support," Helena said. "It must make things easier." "It does," Wade admitted. "I don't know what I'd do without my mom, honestly. Lily's mother, she." He trailed off, unsure how much to share. "You don't have to explain if you don't want to," Helena said gently. "I didn't mean to pry." Wade shook his head. "No, it's okay. It's not a secret or anything. Lily's mom left when Lily was 2, decided motherhood wasn't for her, I guess." We haven't heard from her since. It's been just me and Lily for 5 years now. The server arrived with their coffee, giving Wade a moment to collect himself. He rarely talked about Sarah's departure with anyone. His mom knew the whole story, of course, and a few close friends had the general outline, but he didn't usually share those details with strangers. Yet something about Helena's open, non-judgmental expression made him want to be honest. "That must have been incredibly difficult," Helena said after the server left. "Raising a child alone." "It's been the best thing that ever happened to me," Wade said simply. "Don't get me wrong, it's hard. Money's always tight, and I worry constantly about whether I'm doing enough for her. But Lily, she's everything. She makes every struggle worth it." Helena smiled, a soft expression that transformed her face from beautiful to something more, something that made Wade's heart skip. "That was obvious in the park, the way she looked at you, the way you were with her." "It was lovely to see." Wade felt heat creep up his neck. "I just try to be present, to make sure she knows she's loved and valued. Kids need that, especially kids who have already had one parent walk away. She's lucky to have you." "I'm lucky to have her," Wade countered. He took a sip of his coffee, gathering his courage. "So, this opportunity you mentioned, tell me more about it." Helena's demeanor shifted slightly, becoming more professional but still retaining that warmth he'd noticed. "Green Technologies has been working on expanding our community involvement. We've been successful, blessed really, and I believe that comes with a responsibility to give back. One area we've identified is arts education in underserved communities." Wade nodded, listening carefully. "Study after study shows that arts education improves academic performance, builds confidence, and provides outlets for self-expression that kids desperately need," Helena continued. "But arts programs are usually the first things cut from school budgets. We want to change that, at least in our local area." "That's admirable," Wade said, "but I'm still not sure where I fit in. Like I told you, I'm not a trained music teacher." "What we need isn't someone with credentials," Helena explained, leaning forward slightly. "We need someone who understands the transformative power of music on a personal level. Someone who can connect with kids, especially kids from difficult circumstances. Someone authentic." "You're basing this on watching me play guitar in a park for 5 minutes," Wade pointed out. "I'm basing this on watching you be a father," Helena corrected. "On seeing how you interact with your daughter, how patient you were, how you made her feel like the most important person in the world. That's not something you can fake." Wade ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture he'd never quite outgrown. What would the job actually entail? "We're setting up music education centers in 3 different neighborhoods to start. Each center would offer free lessons in various instruments to kids aged 6 to 16. We need someone to oversee the guitar program at one of the centers. You'd work with the kids directly, teaching group classes and some individual lessons. You'd also help develop the curriculum and select other instructors as the program grows." "I work construction, Helena. That's a full-time job." "I can't just walk away from it. The position would be full-time as well, with a competitive salary and benefits, health insurance, dental, vision. A 401k with company matching, everything you'd need to provide for your family." Wade felt his chest tighten. Health insurance alone was a huge concern. He'd been cobbling together coverage through a high-deductible catastrophic plan that basically meant they couldn't afford to get sick or injured. The construction work paid the bills, barely, but there wasn't much left over for extras or savings. "What's the salary?" he asked, almost afraid of the answer. Helena named a figure that was nearly double what he currently made, and Wade felt his mouth go dry. That's very generous," he managed. Why so much for teaching kids to play guitar?" "Because it matters," Helena said simply. "Because the work is valuable, and people who do valuable work should be compensated fairly. Because I want this program to succeed, and that means hiring the best people and not expecting them to struggle financially while doing important work." Wade stared at her, trying to process everything. The offer was almost too good to be true, which made him suspicious. "What's the catch?" Helena smiled slightly. "No catch. Well, except that you'd have to give up construction work, which I understand might be a difficult transition. The work would be different. You'd be teaching, developing relationships with kids and their families. Some days would be rewarding, some days would be frustrating. It's not easy work, just different work." "When would you need an answer?" "Take your time," Helena said. "Talk it over with your family, with Lily. Think about what it would mean for your life. I don't want to pressure you into a decision you're not comfortable with." Wade appreciated that more than she probably knew. Too many people in his life had tried to tell him what was best, what he should do, without respecting his own judgment. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why are you handling this personally? You run a billion-dollar company. Don't you have HR people for this kind of thing?" Helena's expression became thoughtful, almost vulnerable. "You're right. I do have people who usually handle hiring, but this program, it's personal to me. I grew up without much money. My dad worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat after my mom died. I remember what it felt like to want things we couldn't afford, to see opportunities that felt impossibly out of reach." Wade saw something in her eyes then, a flash of old pain that resonated with his own experiences. "I taught myself to code because we couldn't afford college, at least not right away," Helena continued. "I built my first app in a library because we didn't have a computer at home, and when it succeeded, when opportunities finally opened up, I promised myself I'd remember where I came from. This program is part of keeping that promise." "That's why you approached me in the park," Wade said, understanding dawning. "You saw something familiar." "Maybe," Helena admitted. "Or maybe I just saw a good father who deserves a chance at something better. Is that so wrong?" "No," Wade said softly. "It's not wrong at all. It's actually kind of amazing." They talked for another hour, Helena providing more details about the program, the timeline for launch, what training would be provided. Wade found himself relaxing into the conversation, struck by how easy Helena was to talk to. She listened more than she spoke, asked thoughtful questions, and never once made him feel inferior despite the vast difference in their circumstances. When Wade finally glanced at his watch, he was shocked to discover how much time had passed. "I need to pick up Lily soon," he said reluctantly. "My mom has plans tonight." "Of course," Helena said, standing with him. "Thank you for meeting with me, Wade. I really hope you'll consider the offer." "I will," Wade promised. "I'll think about it seriously." They walked out together, and in the late afternoon sunlight, Helena looked somehow more approachable, more human than she had in the carefully controlled cafe environment. On impulse, Wade extended his hand. "Thank you, Helena, for seeing something in me that I'm not sure is really there." Helena took his hand, her grip firm and warm. "It's there, Wade. Trust me. I've spent years evaluating people, making hiring decisions that affect the direction of my entire company. I know what I saw." Wade held her hand perhaps a moment longer than was strictly professional, then released it and stepped back. "I'll call you by the end of the week." "I look forward to it." Wade walked to his truck, parked several blocks away in a free lot because he couldn't justify the downtown parking fees. His mind was spinning with possibilities and doubts in equal measure. The job offer was incredible, almost too good to be true. The money alone would change everything for him and Lily. They could move out of the small 2-bedroom apartment they shared with 2 thin walls and a heater that barely worked. They could afford activities for Lily, music lessons of her own, dance classes, whatever she wanted. He could stop lying awake at night calculating whether they could afford new shoes or school supplies. But something else troubled him, something he barely wanted to acknowledge even to himself. Helena Greene was unlike anyone he'd ever met. She was brilliant, successful, confident in ways that should have been intimidating, but somehow weren't. And when she smiled, when that professional mask slipped and revealed something warmer underneath, Wade felt something stir that he hadn't felt in years. Something that felt dangerously like attraction. He couldn't pursue that, obviously. She was a billionaire CEO, and he was a construction worker barely keeping his head above water. They lived in different worlds, operated by different rules. Even if the job offer was legitimate and not some elaborate setup, any personal interest he might develop would be wholly inappropriate and completely unwelcome. Wade pulled into his mother's driveway 20 minutes later, still lost in thought. The small ranch house looked tired in the afternoon light, the paint faded and the garden overgrown, but it represented safety and love. His mother, Dorothy, had raised Wade and his two siblings in this house after his father had died when Wade was 12. She'd worked as a nurse, pulling double shifts to make ends meet, and somehow had still found time to make them feel loved and supported. Lily burst out the front door before Wade had even turned off the truck, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders. "Daddy, Grandma and me made cookies." Wade caught her as she launched herself at him, spinning her around once before setting her down. "You did? What kind? Chocolate chip. Your favorite?" "Also your favorite," Wade pointed out, tapping her nose gently. Dorothy appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She was in her early 60s, with gray streaking through her brown hair and laugh lines around her eyes that spoke of a life well lived despite its hardships. "Hey, honey, how did the meeting go? Can we talk about it after Lily goes to bed?" Wade asked quietly. "It's complicated." His mother studied his face with the perceptiveness only mothers possessed. "Good complicated or bad complicated? I'm not sure yet." Lily tugged on Wade's hand. "Daddy, can we get ice cream for dessert? We have cookies," Wade reminded her. "Ice cream and cookies." Lily tried, her eyes hopeful. Wade laughed despite himself. "How about cookies tonight and ice cream this weekend?" Lily considered this negotiation seriously, then nodded. "Okay, but good ice cream, not the cheap stuff." "Lily," Wade said in his gentle but firm dad voice. "We don't talk like that, remember? We're grateful for what we have." Lily's face fell slightly. "Sorry, Daddy, I just meant the kind with the real strawberries in it," Wade softened. "I know, Bug, and we'll get the good kind, I promise." Dorothy packed them up with a container of cookies and shooed them toward Wade's truck. "Call me later," she told Wade quietly. "After she's asleep, I want to hear everything." That night, after Lily had been bathed, read to, and tucked into bed with approximately 7 stuffed animals arranged around her in very specific positions, Wade finally called his mother. He told her everything: the meeting, the job offer, the salary, Helena's background, and his own confused feelings about all of it. "It sounds like an incredible opportunity," Dorothy said when he finished. "What's holding you back?" "It feels too good to be true," Wade admitted. People don't just offer life-changing opportunities to strangers they met in a park. "Maybe most people don't," his mother agreed. "But it sounds like Helena Greene isn't most people. She built her company from nothing, right? She understands struggle. Maybe she genuinely wants to help. And maybe there's something I'm not seeing, some angle I don't understand." "Wade." His mother's voice took on that particular quality that meant she was about to impart maternal wisdom. "When your father died, I was convinced the world was out to get us. Every setback felt like confirmation that we were cursed or unlucky or whatever. But you know what I learned?" "What?" "Sometimes good things just happen. Sometimes people are genuinely kind. Sometimes opportunities appear when we need them most, and the only mistake is being too afraid or too proud to accept them." Wade was quiet, absorbing this. "Think about Lily," Dorothy continued. "What would this job mean for her? Better financial security, sure, but also seeing her father do something he loves. You light up when you play music, Wade. I've seen it since you first picked up that guitar as a teenager. Maybe this is your chance to show Lily that it's possible to love what you do." "I love her," Wade said quietly. "That's what I do." "I know, honey, and you're a wonderful father, but you can be a wonderful father and also have something for yourself. Those things aren't mutually exclusive." After they hung up, Wade sat in the darkness of his small living room, thinking about everything his mother had said. Through the thin wall, He could hear Lily's soft, even breathing from her bedroom. She was his entire world, the reason he got up every morning and pushed through exhaustion and doubt. But maybe his mother was right. Maybe showing Lily that it was possible to pursue something meaningful, to take chances, would be as valuable as the financial security the job offered. He pulled out Helena's business card, studying it in the dim light from the street lamp outside. On impulse, he sent her a text message. "I'd like to accept the position. When can we discuss next steps?" The response came almost immediately, despite the late hour. "That's wonderful news." "Are you free for lunch tomorrow?" Wade hesitated, then typed. "I work until 4. Could do dinner instead." "Perfect. Do you like Italian? There's a place called Antonio's near the waterfront." Wade did a quick mental search of places he could afford, then remembered with a start that this dinner would likely be a business meeting, which meant it would be on Green Technologies' tab. "Sounds good. What time?" 6:30. "And Wade, bring Lily if you'd like. This affects her too." That message, more than anything else, solidified Wade's decision. Helena understood that Lily wasn't separate from his professional life. She was the center of it, and any job Wade took had to work for both of them. He sent back a simple "thank you," and then allowed himself to feel something he'd been suppressing: excitement. Antonio's turned out to be a family-style restaurant with checkered tablecloths and the kind of comfortable, well-worn atmosphere that immediately put Wade at ease. Lily clutched his hand as they entered, her eyes wide at the unfamiliar surroundings, but she relaxed when she spotted the children's drawings displayed proudly on one wall. Helena was already seated at a corner booth, and she waved them over with a warm smile. She'd clearly come straight from work, dressed in elegant black slacks and a silk blouse, but she'd removed her blazer and rolled up her sleeves, making her look less intimidating and more approachable. "Lily, I'm so glad you could come," Helena said with genuine enthusiasm. "Have you ever had real Italian food?" Lily shook her head shyly, pressing closer to Wade's side. "Well, you're in for a treat. They make the best spaghetti here, and the garlic bread is incredible." The server appeared, and Helena ordered with confident familiarity, suggesting dishes for them to share family style. Wade appreciated that she was taking the lead, removing the stress of navigating an unfamiliar menu with its foreign words and unclear descriptions. "So, Lily," Helena said once the server had left, "your dad tells me you like music." Lily nodded, becoming slightly more animated. "Daddy plays guitar for me every Saturday. It's our special day." "That sounds wonderful. Do you play any instruments?" Lily's face fell slightly. "I want to learn piano, but we can't afford it." "Lily," Wade said gently, embarrassed by his daughter's bluntness even though it was true, but Helena didn't seem bothered. "Well, you know what? The music center where your dad is going to work will have piano teachers. Maybe you could take lessons there." Lily's eyes went huge. "Really? Could I, Daddy?" Wade felt a lump form in his throat. "We'll see, Bug. Let's see how everything works out first." The dinner conversation flowed easily, Helena asking Lily about school and her favorite subjects, telling stories about her own childhood that had Lily giggling. Wade found himself relaxing, watching Helena interact with his daughter with genuine interest and warmth. There was no condescension, no talking down to a child, just honest engagement. When Lily excused herself to use the bathroom, Helena turned her full attention to Wade. "She's wonderful. You've done an amazing job with her." "Thank you," Wade said, feeling that familiar mix of pride and inadequacy that came with being a single parent. "I'm trying my best. It shows." Helena pulled out a folder from her bag. "I have some paperwork for you to look over." "Nothing needs to be signed tonight, and I'd encourage you to have a lawyer review everything if you want." "I don't have a lawyer," Wade admitted. "Then take it to legal aid. They can review employment contracts. I want you to feel completely comfortable with everything before you commit." Wade appreciated that more than she probably knew. He accepted the folder, flipping through pages of dense legal text. "When would you need me to start?" Ideally in 3 weeks, but we can be flexible. You'll need to give notice at your current job, and there will be some training involved before we officially launch the program. Training? Wade felt that familiar flutter of inadequacy. I told you, I don't have any teaching background. And I told you that doesn't matter, Helena said firmly. We'll provide training on teaching methodology, child development basics, and classroom management. Plus, you'll shadow some experienced music teachers for the first few weeks. You won't be thrown into this alone. Lily returned, sliding back into the booth beside Wade, and the conversation shifted to lighter topics. They finished dinner with shared tiramisu that had Lily declaring it the best thing she'd ever eaten, and Wade found himself reluctant for the evening to end. Outside the restaurant, under the soft glow of streetlights with the waterfront stretching out behind them, Helena walked them to Wade's truck. Lily yawned hugely, and Wade picked her up, settling her on his hip even though she was getting almost too big for it. "Thank you for dinner," Wade said. "And for everything else. This opportunity, it means more than you probably realize." "I think I do realize," Helena said softly. "I remember what it felt like to have doors open when I'd gotten used to them being closed. It's a good feeling. Everyone deserves to experience it." On impulse, Lily leaned over from Wade's arms and hugged Helena, a quick squeeze that clearly surprised the woman. Helena's face transformed, becoming softer, almost vulnerable as she returned the embrace. "Thank you for letting my daddy work with music," Lily mumbled, already half asleep. "You're very welcome, sweetheart," Helena said, her voice slightly thick with emotion. Wade met Helena's eyes over Lily's curly head, and something passed between them, a moment of connection that felt significant even though Wade couldn't quite define why. Then Lily yawned again, breaking the spell, and Wade shifted her weight. "I should get her home to bed," he said. "Of course. Wade, look over the contract and call me if you have any questions about anything." "I will, thank you, Helena. Really." He buckled Lily into her booster seat, and as he drove away, he watched Helena in the rearview mirror. She stood under the streetlight, watching them leave, and something about her posture struck him as lonely despite all her success and wealth. He filed that observation away, unsure what to make of it. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of activity. Wade gave notice at the construction site, enduring good-natured ribbing from his co-workers about becoming a fancy music teacher. He had the contract reviewed by a lawyer at Legal Aid, who assured him it was remarkably fair and actually weighted in Wade's favor in several clauses. He completed the training Helena had promised, which turned out to be both more intensive and more enjoyable than he'd anticipated. The other instructors hired for the program were a diverse group. A classical pianist with decades of experience, a young woman who taught violin, a jazz drummer who'd played in clubs for years. They were all talented, but more importantly, they all seemed to genuinely care about the program's mission. Wade felt out of his depth at first, surrounded by people with formal training and impressive resumes, but they welcomed him warmly, trading teaching tips and sharing their own moments of uncertainty. Helena was frequently present during the training sessions, not hovering or micromanaging, but available and engaged. Wade found himself looking for her in meetings, his heart doing an inconvenient skip when she smiled at something he said. He tried to suppress those feelings, reminding himself that Helena was his boss now, and nothing more could or should develop between them. But it was getting harder to ignore the way she lit up when Lily appeared, usually dragged along when Dorothy couldn't watch her. Helena always made time to talk with Lily, asking about her school day, admiring her drawings, treating her like a person worth knowing rather than an inconvenient addition to a business setting. The music center itself was impressive, a renovated community building in a neighborhood that had seen better days. Helena had spared no expense on the renovations. The rooms were bright and welcoming, with excellent acoustics and quality instruments available for students who couldn't afford their own. Wade's classroom had 20 guitars of various sizes, all well-maintained and suitable for beginners. The launch day arrived with more fanfare than Wade had anticipated. Local media covered the opening, interviewing Helena about the program's goals and significance. Wade stood off to the side, watching her handle the attention with practiced grace, but he noticed how her eyes kept scanning the crowd, eventually finding him and Lily. She smiled, a different smile than the professional one she gave the cameras, and Wade felt that inconvenient skip in his chest again. The first week of classes was chaotic but exhilarating. Wade taught 6 group sessions of varying skill levels, each class filled with kids who ranged from eager to skeptical to completely disinterested. He drew on his experiences with Lily, on the patience he'd developed as a father, and on the genuine love of music that had sustained him through difficult years. By the end of the first week, he was exhausted but energized in a way his construction work had never made him feel. This mattered. He was making a difference, however small, in these kids' lives. Helena appeared at his classroom door on Friday evening after the last student had left. Wade was putting away guitars, making sure each instrument was properly stored when he sensed her presence. "How did the first week go?" she asked, leaning against the doorframe. Wade straightened, pushing hair off his forehead. "It was incredible. Challenging but incredible. There's a kid, Marcus, 9 years old, who's never touched an instrument before. Today he played an entire C chord cleanly." The look on his face, Helena, it was like he'd discovered magic. Helena's expression softened. "That's exactly what I hoped would happen. You did this, Wade. You created that moment for him." "Your program created it," Wade corrected. "I'm just the person holding the guitar." "Don't diminish what you bring to this," Helena said, moving into the room. "I've watched you teach this week. You have a gift for making kids feel safe enough to try, to risk failing. That's not something you can teach." Wade felt heat creep up his neck at the praise. "Thank you. That means a lot." An awkward silence stretched between them, filled with things unsaid. Wade became acutely aware that they were alone, that the building had emptied out, that Helena was looking at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. "Wade, I was wondering," Helena started, then paused, seeming uncharacteristically uncertain. "Would you like to get coffee sometime? Not a business meeting, just coffee." Wade's heart started pounding. "Like a date." "If you'd want it to be," Helena said, her usual confidence wavering slightly. "Or just as friends. I enjoy your company, and I'd like to get to know you better outside of work contexts, but I understand if that's inappropriate or if you're not interested." Wade wanted to say yes. Every cell in his body wanted to say yes. But reality crashed in. Helena was his boss, a billionaire CEO, and he was a single father barely 3 weeks into a job he still wasn't sure he deserved. "I don't think that's a good idea," Wade said quietly, hating the flash of hurt that crossed Helena's face. "You're my boss. It would complicate things." "You're right," Helena said quickly, her professional mask sliding back into place. "I apologize. That was inappropriate of me." "Helena, it's not that I don't want to," Wade said, needing her to understand. "I just don't want to mess this up. This job, this opportunity, it's changed everything for me and Lily. I can't risk that." Helena nodded, her expression now carefully neutral. "I understand. Forget I said anything. I'll see you next week, Wade." She left quickly, and Wade slumped against his desk, feeling like he'd just made a terrible mistake, even though logically, he knew he'd made the right decision. But logic didn't explain the hollow feeling in his chest or the desire to chase after her and say he'd changed his mind. Over the next several weeks, things remained professionally cordial between Wade and Helena, but lost the easy warmth they'd developed. Helena was busy with other aspects of her company, appearing at the music center less frequently, and when she did, her interactions with Wade were brief and focused solely on program logistics. Wade threw himself into teaching, developing relationships with his students, and refining his approach based on what worked and what didn't. Lily started her own piano lessons at the center, studying with the classical pianist, and Wade's heart swelled watching his daughter's face light up as she learned to coax music from the keys. His life had improved in countless tangible ways. They'd moved to a better apartment in a safer neighborhood, one with 2 bedrooms so Lily had her own space. He could afford to buy fresh groceries instead of relying on boxed meals and canned goods. Lily had new clothes that actually fit, and when she needed new shoes, Wade didn't have to check his bank balance first. But something was missing, and Wade knew exactly what it was, even if he couldn't let himself acknowledge it. The realization hit him about 2 months into the job, during a parent performance night at the music center. Students played pieces they'd been practicing, and parents beamed with pride at their children's accomplishments. Lily performed a simple piano piece, her small fingers moving carefully across the keys, and Wade felt the familiar surge of fatherly pride. Helena was there, having made a rare appearance at the center. She stood at the back of the room, watching the performances with a soft smile. When Lily finished her piece, Helena caught Wade's eye and mouthed, "She's wonderful." Something in Wade's chest cracked open. He'd been lying to himself, pretending his feelings for Helena were manageable, professional, appropriate. But watching her genuine joy in Lily's accomplishment, seeing the warmth in her eyes when she looked at him, Wade couldn't deny it anymore. He was falling in love with Helena Greene. The realization terrified him. She was his boss. She was a billionaire. They came from different worlds. And he'd already rejected her when she'd expressed interest in spending time together outside of work. He'd probably ruined any chance of something developing between them. After the performance, as parents collected their children and the crowd dispersed, Wade found himself drawn to where Helena stood reviewing some paperwork with the center's manager. "Helena," he said, waiting until the manager had walked away. "Do you have a minute?" She looked up, her expression guarded. "Of course, is everything okay with the program? The program's great. This isn't about work." Wade took a breath, gathering courage. "I was wondering if that coffee offer was still on the table." Helena's carefully controlled expression cracked, showing surprise and something that looked like cautious hope. "I thought you said it wasn't a good idea." "I was scared," Wade admitted. "I still am, honestly, but I've been miserable for weeks and I finally figured out why. I miss you, Helena. I miss talking to you, being around you, and if there's any chance you still feel the same way, I'd like to take that risk." "What changed?" Helena asked softly. Wade glanced across the room to where Lily was showing his mother something on her phone, both of them laughing. "I realized that I've been teaching my students to be brave, to try new things even when they're scared of failing. But I wasn't being brave myself. I was letting fear make my decisions for me." Helena was quiet for a long moment, and Wade felt his heart hammering against his ribs. He'd put himself out there, made himself vulnerable, and now he could only wait for her response. "Saturday morning," Helena finally said. "There's a farmer's market downtown. We could walk around, get coffee, talk, if you'd like." "I'd like that very much," Wade said, relief flooding through him. "Should I bring Lily?" Helena smiled, a real smile that lit up her entire face. "Not this time. I want to focus on you without any distractions. Is that okay?" "Yeah," Wade said, his own smile growing to match hers. "That's definitely okay." Saturday morning dawned bright and clear, and Wade changed his outfit 3 times before Lily commented from her bedroom doorway that he was acting weird. He dropped her off at his mother's, enduring Dorothy's knowing look and Lily's excited questions about where he was going. "Just coffee with a friend," Wade said, which wasn't technically a lie, even if it felt like one. "The pretty lady from your work?" Lily asked with the uncomfortable perceptiveness of 7-year-olds. "How do you know about that?" Wade asked, startled. "Grandma talks about her," Lily said matter-of-factly. "She says the lady likes you." Wade shot his mother a look, but Dorothy just shrugged, unrepentant. "Do you like her, Daddy?" Lily pressed. Wade crouched down to his daughter's level, deciding honesty was the best approach. "I do like her." "Is that okay with you?" Lily considered this seriously. "Does she like me?" She thinks you're wonderful, Wade assured her. Then it's okay, Lily decided. But Daddy. Yeah, Bug. Don't stop playing guitar with me on Saturdays. Wade pulled his daughter into a tight hug. Never. That's our special time, remember? Nothing will ever change that. Satisfied, Lily skipped off to show her grandmother a new game on her tablet, leaving Wade to deal with his mother's raised eyebrow. Don't say anything, Wade warned. I'm just glad you're finally giving yourself permission to be happy, Dorothy said. You deserve that, Wade, more than anyone I know. The farmer's market was crowded with Saturday morning shoppers, the air filled with the scent of fresh bread and flowers. Wade spotted Helena near the entrance, dressed casually in jeans and a light sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked different outside of work contexts, younger and more relaxed, and Wade's breath caught at the sight of her. Hi, he said, suddenly awkward now that the moment was here. Hi yourself, Helena replied, her smile warm. Ready for the best coffee you've ever had. There's a vendor here who roasts his own beans, and it's incredible. They fell into step beside each other, navigating through the crowd. Their hands bumped occasionally, and each touch felt electric, charged with possibility. They bought coffee from the vendor Helena had mentioned, and she was right. It was exceptional, rich, and complex in a way that made Wade's usual morning brew taste like dishwater. They wandered through the market, stopping at various stalls. Helena bought fresh vegetables from a farm stand, chatting easily with the farmer about growing seasons and organic practices. Wade found himself fascinated by this side of her, so different from the polished CEO who commanded boardrooms and gave interviews to financial news networks. I try to cook most of my meals, Helena explained when she caught Wade watching her select tomatoes with careful attention. It keeps me grounded, reminds me where things come from. Plus, there's something satisfying about creating something with your own hands, you know? Wade thought about his construction work, the tangible satisfaction of building something physical, and nodded. I get that. They found a bench in a small park adjacent to the market, sitting close enough that their shoulders touched. The morning sun filtered through the trees overhead, creating dappled patterns on the ground. I want to be honest with you about something, Helena said, her coffee cup cradled in both hands. I don't date much. Actually, I barely date at all. I've been focused on my company for so long that I've let everything else fall by the wayside. Most of the people I meet are either intimidated by my success or only interested in what I can do for them. I'm definitely intimidated by your success, Wade admitted. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. Helena turned to look at him directly. But that's not all you see, is it? When you look at me, you don't just see the CEO or the money or the company. You see me, Helena. That's rare. I see someone who cares deeply about making a difference, Wade said. Someone who remembers where she came from and wants to help others. Someone who lit up when my 7-year-old played a simple piano piece because she understood what that moment meant. Helena's eyes glistened slightly. You see the person I want to be. I see the person you are, Wade corrected gently. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching people pass by with their market purchases and morning coffees. Wade felt more at peace than he had in months, maybe years. Helena's presence beside him felt right in a way he couldn't fully articulate. Tell me about Lily's mother, Helena said eventually. If you want to, I mean, you don't have to. Wade considered how much to share, then decided on honesty. Her name was Sarah. We met young, probably too young. I was 21, she was 19. We thought we were in love, but looking back, I think we were just two kids who didn't know what love actually meant. He paused, gathering his thoughts. When Sarah got pregnant, I was terrified but also kind of excited. I thought it would bring us closer together, give us a purpose. But she just got more distant. After Lily was born, Sarah tried for a while, I'll give her that. But she was miserable, and one day I came home from work to find a note. She'd left, said motherhood wasn't for her, that she needed to find herself or some such thing. That must have been devastating, Helena said softly. It was. But you know what? Within a few days, I realized I was relieved. Sarah had been so unhappy, and that unhappiness had infected everything. Suddenly, it was just me and Lily, and I could focus entirely on being the best father I could be without worrying about Sarah's moods or needs. "Do you hear from her?" "Not a word in 5 years. She signed away parental rights pretty easily. Sent the papers from wherever she'd ended up, California, I think. Haven't heard from her since." Wade looked at Helena. "Is that terrible? That I'm not sorry she left?" "Not terrible at all," Helena assured him. "It sounds like you both needed different things, and staying together would have made everyone miserable, including Lily." "What about you?" Wade asked. "Any serious relationships in your past?" Helena laughed, but it held a bitter edge. "Define serious. I was engaged once, about 5 years ago. His name was Richard, and he worked in finance. We met at a charity gala, hit it off, started dating. He proposed after a year. What happened? I discovered he'd been using insider information from my company to make trades. He'd been going through my emails, my paperwork, anything he could access. When I confronted him, he acted like I was overreacting, like it wasn't a big deal. Said I should be flattered that he was so interested in my work." "That's awful," Wade said, anger flaring on her behalf. "It was a betrayal that went deep," Helena agreed. "After that, I threw myself even harder into work. It felt safer than risking that kind of hurt again, but it's also been lonely, Wade. Really lonely." Wade reached over and took her hand, threading his fingers through hers. It felt natural, right? Like their hands had been designed to fit together. "I get lonely too," he admitted. "Even surrounded by people who love me, there's a specific kind of loneliness that comes from not having someone who's yours, you know. Someone who sees all of you and wants to stick around anyway." Helena squeezed his hand. "That's exactly it." They spent the rest of the morning together, talking about everything and nothing. Helena told him about building her company, the failures and successes, the moments when she'd nearly given up. Wade shared stories about Lily, about the terror and joy of single parenthood, about his own childhood, and the lessons he'd learned from his mother's strength. As noon approached, Wade reluctantly checked his watch. "I should probably get Lily soon. My mom has plans this afternoon." "I understand," Helena said, but Wade could hear the disappointment in her voice. "Helena," he said, pulling her to a stop. They were standing under a large tree at the edge of the park, partially hidden from the passing crowd. "I don't want this to end. The morning, any of it, us, whatever this is becoming, I want to see where it goes." Helena looked up at him, her face so close he could count the flecks of gold in her brown eyes. "I want that too. But Wade, we have to be careful. The power dynamic between us is real. I don't want you to ever feel pressured or like your job depends on this relationship working out." "I don't feel that way," Wade assured her. "But I appreciate you saying it. How do we do this? How do we navigate a relationship when you're technically my boss?" "Carefully," Helena said. "Honestly, with constant communication. And if it ever feels wrong or unbalanced, we talk about it immediately." "Deal." "Deal," Wade agreed. Helena rose up on her toes slightly, and Wade understood the invitation. He leaned down, closing the distance between them, and kissed her softly. Her lips were warm, tasting faintly of coffee, and the kiss was gentle, exploratory, perfect. When they pulled apart, Helena's cheeks were flushed, and Wade felt like his entire body was humming with happiness. "That was nice," Helena said, slightly breathless. "Very nice," Wade agreed. They walked back to where they'd parked, hands still clasped together. At Helena's car, a sleek sedan that probably cost more than Wade used to make in 3 years, they said their goodbyes with another kiss and promises to see each other soon. Wade drove to his mother's house feeling lighter than he had in years. When he walked in, Lily looked up from the puzzle she was working on with Dorothy and immediately pointed at him. "You kissed her." Wade stopped dead. "How could you possibly know that?" "You have the same face Grandma gets when she talks about Grandpa," Lily announced. "All happy and mushy." Dorothy laughed at Wade's bewildered expression. "Don't fight it, honey. She's surprisingly perceptive." Wade sat down beside his daughter, pulling her into his lap even though she protested that she was too big for such treatment. "I did kiss her," he admitted. "Her name is Helena, and I like her very much. How do you feel about that?" Lily was quiet for a moment, processing. "Will she be mean to me?" Wade's heart clenched. "No, sweetheart. Helena is very kind. She already thinks you're wonderful, but nothing changes between you and me, okay? You're still my number one always." Lily seemed satisfied with this answer, returning her attention to the puzzle. But later, as Wade was buckling her into her booster seat for the drive home, she asked quietly, "Is Helena going to be my mom?" Wade crouched down beside the open car door, meeting his daughter's uncertain eyes. "I don't know what's going to happen with Helena and me, Bug. We're just starting to get to know each other. But whatever happens, you and I are a team, remember? We make big decisions together." "Okay," Lily said. "But Daddy, I think it would be nice if you had someone to love who could love you back." "You're always taking care of me, but nobody takes care of you." Wade felt tears prick his eyes at his daughter's surprising wisdom. "You take care of me all the time, Lily. You give me a reason to get up every morning. That's pretty important." "I know, but I'm a kid." "I mean a grown-up who can help with the hard stuff." Wade kissed his daughter's forehead. "I love you, Lily Bug, more than anything in the world." "Love you too, Daddy." Over the following weeks, Wade and Helena navigated the delicate balance of their developing relationship. They were careful to keep things professional at the music center, but they spent time together outside of work. Quiet dinners after Lily was asleep with her grandmother, early morning walks before the city fully woke, long phone conversations late at night where they talked until Wade's eyes grew heavy and Helena's voice became soft with sleep. Wade introduced Helena to Lily properly about 3 weeks into their relationship, over pizza at a casual restaurant that Lily loved. He'd been nervous, worried about how the meeting would go, but Helena had been natural and warm, asking Lily about school and piano lessons, genuinely listening to his daughter's chatter about her friends and favorite books. "She's smart," Lily declared to Wade later when Helena had excused herself to use the restroom. "And she's pretty. I like her, Daddy." Wade felt a weight lift from his shoulders that he hadn't fully acknowledged carrying. Lily's approval mattered more than anything else. As fall progressed toward winter, the relationship deepened. Wade found himself falling harder for Helena with each passing day, captivated by her intelligence, her warmth, the way she could shift seamlessly from commanding a boardroom to sitting on his living room floor playing board games with Lily. Helena, for her part, seemed equally invested. She showed up to Lily's school performance with Wade, sitting beside him in the uncomfortable auditorium chairs and clapping enthusiastically when Lily sang in the children's choir. She learned to braid Lily's hair when the girl asked, watching YouTube tutorials until she got it right. She remembered small details, like Lily's favorite color and Wade's preference for black coffee, and she incorporated those details into thoughtful gestures that made Wade feel genuinely seen. 4 months into their relationship, on a particularly cold December evening, Helena invited Wade and Lily to her home for the first time. Wade had known she lived in an upscale neighborhood, but he wasn't prepared for the reality of her house. A stunning modern design with floor-to-ceiling windows and high ceilings that made the space feel both expansive and somehow cozy. "This is your house," Lily breathed, her eyes huge. "It's like a castle," Helena laughed. "Not quite a castle, but it's home. Come on, I'll show you around." She gave them a tour, showing Lily the room she'd prepared just in case they visited, complete with books and toys and a keyboard in the corner. "I thought you might want to practice when you're here," Helena explained, and Lily's face lit up with pure joy. In the kitchen, Helena had prepared dinner. Homemade lasagna with garlic bread and salad. As they ate, Wade felt a sense of rightness settle over him. This felt like family, like something real and lasting. After dinner, Lily fell asleep on Helena's couch, worn out from exploring the house and playing with the new keyboard. Wade carefully carried her to the guest room Helena had prepared, tucking her in with the stuffed animal she never traveled without. He found Helena on the back deck, wrapped in a blanket against the cold, looking out at the city lights spread below. Wade joined her, and she shifted the blanket to include him, pressing close for warmth. "Thank you for tonight," Wade said. "Lily had an amazing time." "I did too," Helena replied. "Wade, I need to tell you something." His heart skipped nervously at her serious tone. "Okay." "I'm falling in love with you," Helena said, her voice quiet but steady. "I probably have been for a while now, but I wanted to be sure to not say it unless I meant it. But I'm sure now. I love you, Wade Calloway. I love your kindness and your strength. I love how you are with Lily, how patient and present you are. I love how you make me want to be better, to do more, to deserve the way you look at me." Wade felt his throat tighten with emotion. "I love you too, Helena. I've been terrified to say it, worried it was too soon or too much, but I've been in love with you for weeks. You've changed my life in ways that go beyond the job or the financial security. You've made me believe in possibilities I'd stopped letting myself imagine." Helena turned in his arms, and he kissed her deeply, pouring all his emotion into the connection. When they finally pulled apart, both slightly breathless, Helena was smiling. "Where do we go from here?" she asked. "Forward," Wade said simply. "Together, one day at a time." They stayed on the deck for a long time, wrapped in the blanket and each other, making quiet plans for the future. Helena mentioned wanting to meet Wade's mother properly, not just in passing at the music center. Wade suggested Helena join them for their Saturday guitar sessions in the park, making it clear that his relationship with Helena was serious, permanent. "I want you in all parts of my life," Wade said. "Not compartmentalized or separate. You're too important for that." "I want that too," Helena assured him. "With you and with Lily, if she'll have me." "She already loves you," Wade said. "She told me last week that you give the best hugs and that she wishes you could read bedtime stories every night." Helena's eyes glistened. "Really? Really?" "You're amazing with her, Helena. You never make her feel like an inconvenience or an obligation. You genuinely enjoy being around her." "Because I do," Helena said simply. "She's wonderful, Wade. You've raised an incredible little girl." Winter turned to spring, and the relationship continued to deepen and strengthen. Wade met Helena's small circle of close friends, people who'd known her since the early days of her company, who welcomed Wade with genuine warmth once they saw how happy Helena was. Helena became a regular fixture in Wade's life, joining him and Lily for weekend activities, helping with homework, attending school events. The music program continued to thrive. Wade's classes were always full, and he'd developed a reputation as the teacher who could reach even the most reluctant students. Several of his kids had progressed enough to perform at local community events, and the pride Wade felt watching them was almost paternal. One Saturday in April, almost a year after Helena had first heard Wade playing in the park, she arranged for something special. Wade arrived at the music center for what he thought was a routine equipment check to find the main performance hall set up for a concert. Helena stood on the stage, smiling at his confused expression. "What's all this?" Wade asked, Lily bouncing excitedly beside him. "This is for you," Helena said. "For your students, actually. I've arranged for a real concert with a professional sound system and everything. Your students are going to perform for their families and the community." Wade felt his chest tighten with emotion. "Helena, this is incredible. You've worked so hard with these kids," Helena said, coming to stand before him. "They deserve to be celebrated, and so do you." "The concert is next month, which gives everyone time to prepare. What do you think?" Instead of answering with words, Wade pulled Helena into a tight embrace, not caring that they were technically at work or that Lily was giggling beside them. "I think I love you more every single day," he murmured into her hair. The concert was a huge success. The performance hall was packed with families, all beaming with pride at their children's accomplishments. Wade's students played beautifully, some solo, some in groups, all of them transformed from the tentative beginners they'd been months earlier. When it was over, Wade stood on stage with the other instructors, accepting the appreciation of the crowd, but his eyes found Helena in the audience, sitting beside Lily and his mother, all three of them clapping enthusiastically. After the concert, as families slowly dispersed and the building emptied out, Wade found Helena helping to put away chairs. He watched her for a moment, this brilliant, successful woman who could have been anywhere doing anything, but who chose to be here, helping clean up after a community concert. "Marry me," Wade said, the words emerging before he could plan or prepare. Helena straightened, turning to face him with wide eyes. "What?" Wade crossed the distance between them, taking her hands in his. "I know this isn't romantic, and I don't have a ring yet, and we probably should have talked about this more. But Helena, I love you. I want to spend my life with you. I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep beside you every night. I want to build a future together, maybe give Lily siblings if you want kids of your own, maybe just keep being this incredible team we've become. I want all of it, with you forever." Helena's eyes were brimming with tears, but she was smiling, a radiant expression that made Wade's heart soar. "Yes," she said simply. "Yes, absolutely yes." Wade kissed her, deep and loving, vaguely aware that they still weren't entirely alone in the building but completely uncaring. When they broke apart, Helena was laughing through her tears. "I was going to propose to you next month," she admitted. "I've been carrying a ring around for 2 weeks, trying to find the perfect moment. You have a ring in my purse. Want to see it?" They retrieved Helena's purse from her office, and she pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a simple but elegant band, white gold with small diamonds set into the metal. It was masculine but beautiful, exactly Wade's style, even though he'd never thought about what kind of ring he might want. "It's perfect," Wade said, letting Helena slide it onto his finger. It fit perfectly, and he wondered how she'd managed to guess his size. "I measured your hand while you were sleeping one night," Helena admitted sheepishly. "I felt like a creep doing it, but I wanted it to be a surprise." Wade laughed, pulling her close again. "You're incredible, you know that?" "So are you," Helena replied. "Wade, I want you to know something. This isn't about my money or my resources or anything I can give you materially. You've never asked me for anything, never tried to take advantage. That means everything to me. I don't need your money, Helena. I just need you." They decided to tell Lily together that evening. Wade's mother agreed to let them take Lily to dinner, giving them a knowing look as she handed over Lily's backpack. At Lily's favorite restaurant, the one with the really good mac and cheese, they sat down in a corner booth. "Lily, we have something important to tell you," Wade started, his heart pounding. Despite being confident in his decision, he was still nervous about his daughter's reaction. "You're getting married," Lily announced before he could continue. "I knew it." Wade and Helena exchanged surprised looks. "How did you know?" Helena asked. "Daddy's been acting all weird and nervous, and you've been smiling extra big all week," Lily explained with the logic of a wise 7-year-old. "Plus, Grandma said it was probably going to happen soon." "Did she now?" Wade said, making a mental note to talk to his mother about spoiling surprises. "So is it true? Are you really getting married?" Lily looked between them hopefully. "We are," Helena confirmed. "If that's okay with you, Lily, your opinion matters a lot to us." Lily was quiet for a moment, her face serious in a way that reminded Wade so much of himself. "Will you be my mom?" She asked Helena directly. "I mean, I know you're not my real mom, but could you be like my mom?" Helena's eyes filled with tears. "I would be honored to be your mom, Lily. If you want me to be, I love you, sweetheart, and I love your dad, and I want us to be a family. Can I call you Mom?" Lily asked. "If you want to, you can call me Helena or Mom or whatever feels right to you. There's no pressure." Lily seemed to consider this, then nodded decisively. "I want to call you Mom, and I want you to live with us. Can you do that?" "Actually," Wade interjected, "we were thinking maybe we could all live together in a new house. Somewhere that's ours, all 3 of us. What do you think?" Lily's eyes went huge. Really? A new house? Can I have my own room? A big one? Wade and Helena laughed at her priorities. Yes, you can have your own room, Wade assured her. We'll find a place with plenty of space for everyone. The rest of the dinner was filled with Lily's excited questions about the wedding, the new house, and whether she could be a flower girl. Wade and Helena answered patiently, making plans together as a family, and Wade felt a deep sense of contentment settle over him. This was right. This was how life was supposed to feel. They set the wedding for August, giving them a few months to plan. Helena wanted something small and intimate, just close family and friends, and Wade was more than happy to agree. The idea of a big society wedding made him deeply uncomfortable, and Helena assured him that she had no interest in that either. Finding a house took time. Wade wanted to contribute financially, not just live in something Helena purchased entirely on her own. After many discussions, they agreed on a compromise. Helena would put down a larger down payment, but they'd split the mortgage based on their incomes, making it a truly shared investment. They found a beautiful 4-bedroom house in a good school district, with a large backyard where Lily could play and a finished basement that Wade claimed for a music room. Moving day was chaotic, but joyful. Lily ran through the empty rooms, claiming the biggest bedroom upstairs for herself. Wade's mother came to help, bringing food and organizational skills that kept everyone on track. By the end of the day, they were exhausted but surrounded by boxes in a house that was starting to feel like home. That night, after Lily had been tucked into her new bed in her new room with her stuffed animals arranged just so, Wade found Helena on the back deck. She sat on the steps leading down to the yard, looking up at the stars barely visible through the city's light pollution. "Hey," Wade said softly, sitting beside her. "Hey yourself," Helena replied, leaning into him, having second thoughts, Wade teased. "Not even a little bit," Helena assured him. "Although I am having thoughts about how many boxes we still need to unpack," Wade laughed. "We'll get there." No rush. They sat in comfortable silence, and Wade marveled at how much his life had transformed in just over a year. From playing guitar in a park, struggling to make ends meet, to sitting on the deck of his own home with the woman he loved, about to become his wife. It felt like a dream, but the solid warmth of Helena beside him proved it was very real. The wedding in August was everything Wade had hoped for. They held it in the garden of a small historic inn, with about 50 guests including Wade's family, Helena's close friends, colleagues from the music center, and some of Wade's and Lily's favorite students. Lily served as flower girl, wearing a purple dress she'd picked out herself, beaming as she scattered petals down the aisle. When Wade saw Helena walking toward him, he felt tears prick his eyes. She was beautiful in a simple ivory dress, carrying a small bouquet of wildflowers, her face radiant with happiness. They'd written their own vows, and when Wade spoke his, promising to love, honor, and support Helena for all their days, his voice cracked with emotion. Helena's vows were equally heartfelt, promising not just to love Wade but to be a mother to Lily, to support their family, and to build a life filled with music, laughter, and love. When they kissed, sealing their commitment, Lily cheered from her seat in the front row, making everyone laugh. The reception was relaxed and joyful. Wade's instructor friends from the music center played live music, and at one point, Wade retrieved his guitar and played a song he'd written specifically for Helena, singing about second chances and unexpected love and finding home in another person. By the time he finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the garden, including Helena's. As the evening wound down and guests began to depart, Wade found a quiet moment alone with his new wife. They stood under the string lights that had been hung throughout the garden, swaying gently to music drifting from the speakers. "Happy?" Wade asked. "Incredibly," Helena replied. "You?" "More than I ever thought possible," Wade said honestly. "A year ago, I was just trying to survive, to give Lily a decent childhood despite our circumstances. I never let myself imagine something like this." "You deserve this, Wade," Helena said firmly. "You deserve happiness and love and stability. You always did." "So do you," Wade countered. "You worked so hard for everything you have, but you also deserve someone who loves you for who you are, not what you can provide." "I know that now," Helena said. "You taught me that." They danced until Lily appeared, rubbing her eyes sleepily, having been watching a movie with Dorothy inside the inn. Without discussion, Wade and Helena created space between them, and Lily stepped into the middle, creating a three-person embrace. They swayed together, a new family, complete and whole. Life settled into a new rhythm after the wedding. Wade continued teaching at the music center, now working full-time as the program had expanded to include advanced classes and individual mentoring for particularly talented students. Helena balanced her work at Greene Technologies with being present for family dinners, school events, and weekend activities. She'd promoted several key executives to handle more day-to-day operations, allowing her to step back slightly and focus on strategic direction rather than being consumed by constant meetings and decisions. Lily thrived in her new school and in the stability of their family. She'd started calling Helena Mom consistently, and the genuine bond between them was beautiful to witness. Helena helped with homework, attended piano recitals, and kissed scraped knees with the same dedication Wade had always provided. About a year after the wedding, Helena brought up the subject of more children. They were sitting on their back deck on a warm summer evening, Lily asleep inside after a long day at summer camp. "I've been thinking," Helena said carefully, "about expanding our family." "How would you feel about having another child?" Wade's heart skipped. They discussed this in abstract terms before the wedding, but hearing Helena bring it up now made it feel real and immediate. "I'd love that," he said honestly. "I've always wanted Lily to have siblings, but are you sure? You'd be starting from scratch with diapers and sleepless nights and all of that." "I'm sure," Helena said. "I want to experience that with you, Wade, to build a family together from the ground up, and Lily would be an amazing big sister." They decided to start trying, and 3 months later, Helena discovered she was pregnant. Telling Lily was one of the highlights of Wade's life. His daughter's face cycled through confusion, surprise, and then pure joy in the space of about 30 seconds before she launched herself at Helena, hugging her carefully around the middle. "I'm going to be a big sister." Lily announced to everyone she met for weeks afterward. Teachers, friends, neighbors, the grocery store clerk. Her excitement was infectious, and Wade found himself getting equally excited about this new chapter. The pregnancy progressed smoothly. Wade attended every doctor's appointment with Helena, holding her hand during ultrasounds and marveling at the grainy images of their growing baby. They learned they were having a boy, and Lily immediately began planning everything from nursery decorations to the best big sister activities. Helena worked up until her 8th month, finally agreeing to take leave when Wade and her doctor both insisted. She spent her last month of pregnancy preparing the nursery, reading parenting books, and managing her company remotely. Wade watched her throw herself into preparing for motherhood with the same dedication she brought to everything else, and his love for her deepened even further. Their son, William, was born on a clear April morning, arriving after 12 hours of labor that left Wade feeling helpless but in awe of Helena's strength. When the doctor placed the baby in Helena's arms, Wade saw tears stream down his wife's face, and his own vision blurred with emotion. "Hi, William," Helena whispered to the tiny bundle. "We've been waiting for you." Lily met her baby brother later that day, having stayed with Dorothy during the birth. She approached the hospital bed cautiously, her earlier excitement tempered by the reality of this tiny, wrinkled creature. "He's so small," she breathed. "You were this small once," Wade told her, lifting her carefully to sit beside Helena on the bed. "Want to hold him?" With Wade and Helena's careful supervision, Lily held her baby brother for the first time. William's tiny hand wrapped around her finger, and Lily's face transformed with wonder. "Hi, William," she said softly. "I'm your big sister, and I'm going to take care of you forever." Wade met Helena's eyes over their children's heads, and no words were needed. They'd built something beautiful together, something that had started with a chance meeting in a park and a leap of faith from both of them. The first months with a newborn were exhausting but wonderful. Wade took paternity leave from the music center, something he never could have afforded in his old life, allowing him to be fully present during those crucial early weeks. He and Helena worked as a team, trading off night feedings and diaper changes, supporting each other through the sleep deprivation and adjustment. Lily was remarkably helpful for a 9-year-old, bringing diapers when asked, singing softly to William when he fussed, and generally treating her new brother with gentle care. She still maintained her special guitar time with Wade on Saturdays, though now it often included Helena and William, creating a new family tradition. As William grew from infant to baby to toddler, the family continued to evolve. Wade was promoted to director of all guitar programs at the Music Center, overseeing curriculum development and instructor training across multiple locations. Helena launched a new initiative at Greene Technologies focused on educational technology for underprivileged schools, bringing together her two passions, technology and social impact. They talked about having one more child, and when William was 2, Helena became pregnant again. This time, they were blessed with a daughter, Emma, who arrived with a full head of dark hair and her mother's determined expression. Lily, now 11, was old enough to be a genuinely helpful big sister, and she took the responsibility seriously. Life was full and rich, and sometimes overwhelming, but always grounded in love. Wade still had moments where he'd stop and marvel at the path his life had taken, at the family he'd helped build, at the love he'd found when he'd stopped looking for it. One Saturday afternoon in early fall, almost 5 years after that first meeting in the park, Wade sat on the same bench where Helena had first approached him. Beside him sat William, now 3, and in his arms was Emma, 6 months old and fascinated by the autumn leaves drifting down around them. Lily, now 12 and increasingly independent, sat on Helena's other side, showing her mother something on her phone. Wade had his guitar, the same battered instrument that had been falling apart all those years ago, though Helena had insisted on having it professionally restored and maintained. He played softly, a new song he was working on while his family listened and the world moved around them. "What's this one about?" Helena asked when he finished. "It's about grateful," Wade said simply, "about second chances and unexpected blessings. About a woman who saw something worth believing in and changed everything." Helena smiled, that particular smile she reserved just for him, the one that still made his heart skip even after years together. "She sounds pretty smart." "The smartest," Wade agreed, "and beautiful and kind. And patient, especially when dealing with a stubborn construction worker who almost let fear win." "He came around eventually," Helena said, "and it was more than worth the wait." Lily made a gagging noise at their romantic exchange, but she was smiling. William had climbed into Helena's lap, and Emma reached for her brother, creating a tangle of small limbs and laughter. Wade looked at his family, at the life they'd built together, and felt complete. The struggling dad playing guitar for his daughter in the park still existed inside him, the part that understood hardship and worry and fear. But now, that part was balanced by joy, security, and a love so deep it sometimes took his breath away. As evening approached and they gathered their things to head home, William tugged on Wade's hand. "Daddy, play more music." "Tonight after dinner," Wade promised, "we'll all play together." Because that's what they did now. They made music together, literal and metaphorical, creating harmony out of individual notes, building something beautiful from what might have seemed like incompatible parts. Helena with her brilliant mind and generous heart, Wade with his steady presence and creative soul, Lily with her growing wisdom and loving spirit, William with his infectious enthusiasm, and Emma with her determined personality already showing through. They walked home together as the sun set, Wade carrying Emma while Helena held William's hand, and Lily walked slightly ahead, already on the cusp of the teenager she'd soon become. Their house glowed warm in the distance, lights beginning to flicker on as dusk deepened, a beacon of home and safety and love. Wade had started that day 5 years ago with nothing but love for his daughter and a worn guitar, playing music in a park because it was the one beautiful thing he could offer. He ended this day with a family, a career doing something meaningful, financial security he'd never dreamed possible, and a love story that had transformed his entire world. Sometimes, Wade reflected, the most extraordinary things begin with the simplest moments. A melody floating through autumn air, a woman who stopped to listen, and the courage to accept an offer that seemed too good to be true. Because sometimes, miracles don't announce themselves with fanfare. Sometimes they arrive quietly, in the form of a second chance, an unexpected offer, and the willingness to believe that happiness isn't just for other people. It's for everyone who's brave enough to reach for it. And Wade Calloway, former struggling construction worker, now husband, father, teacher, and believer in second chances, had reached out with both hands and held on tight. And he would never, ever let go. The end.